Masterclass, which is going to be on March 27th with the HGO studio. We're very excited for that masterclass, always a favorite of ours. And for any sophomores or juniors out there in the Houston area, we are taking applications for next season for our next class, for the class of 2022. Please go to hgo.org/HSVS to apply. We are doing them all through a virtual format this year, so recordings are going to be your audition format. You can ask us any questions also in the chat about applications as well. I would like to bring everybody up to speed with who our guest is. If you are not aware, Anthony Roth-Costanzo is an amazing countertenor, friend of HGO. He began performing professionally at the age of 11 and has since appeared in opera, concerts, recital, film, and Broadway. His debut album, ARC, is on Decca Gold and was nominated for a 2019 Grammy. He is Musical America's 2019 Vocalist of the Year. We are so excited to have him in with our students today. He's an incredible artist. He's sung at all the major opera houses, all the stages of the world. But what is really interesting about him is he's a very curious artist and an amazing advocate. So I encourage you to check out some of the work he's done off the stage as an advisor, and definitely check out White Snake Projects to see some of the activism work that he's doing. I'd like to bring him into our Zoom and welcome.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. It's great to be here with you.
We are so great to have, it's so great to have you here. I would like to give you just a second to welcome into our online audience and give them an idea of what we're going to be doing today in the masterclass and what to look forward to.
Well, hi, everyone. It's wonderful to join you today and these amazing young singers in this group. You know, this is our future, so it's really important to me to keep thinking about what art we're making and what singing is really about. I want to say that, you know, everyone here has been working with voice teachers, and I don't in any way want to supersede that. A masterclass is always a funny thing because there's a lot that can happen, ideas that can be thrown out, but I want to encourage the singers to always go back to their teachers and make sure that this is really going to work for them. If there's something that's confusing, you know, sometimes when you're in front of people, even in an online audience, it's hard to process it all. So that's why, you know, the relationships you have with your teachers are the really important ones. But in my experience, I, as you said, started performing really young and was on Broadway and did film and went to university and have produced things, but also am fully immersed in this opera world. But I think opera's magic is its ability to communicate. And so expression is what leads my approach to singing and also technique. And I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on technique today, but I do want to think about how the words, how the way we sing these words, how we use our voices actually communicates or expresses something. And that's at the root of what I do. So today we'll hear these singers sing. I'll see, you know, what happens if we try out some different things, and hopefully we'll have some nice, you know, progress or moments of realization or whatever it may be.
Oh, well, I can't wait to get started. I would like to invite our first singer into this space. He will introduce himself and the piece, and then you guys can go at it. Thanks.
Great.
Hi, my name is Benjamin Mera. I'll be singing Già Sole dal Gange by Scarlatti. Già il sole dal Gange, già il sole dal Gange, più chiaro t'favilla, più chiaro t'favilla, più chiaro t'favilla. E terge ogni scilla dell'alba che piange, dell'alba che piange, dell'alba che piange, dell'alba che piange. Già il sole dal Gange, già il sole dal Gange, più chiaro t'favilla, più chiaro t'favilla, più chiaro t'favilla. gemma di stello, in gemma di stello, in gemma di stello. Gli astri del cielo dipinge nel prato, dipinge nel prato, dipinge nel prato, dipinge nel prato. Col raggio dorato, in gemma di stello, in gemma di stello, in gemma di stello.
Great. That was so beautiful. Thank you, Ben. I loved that. I really did. And I think, your voice sounds great and your Italian is really good on the whole. I guess with these early Italian songs, which are often in this book arias from operas, so it's sometimes we think of them more as exercises. But I want to start, as we would with almost anything. Do you know what it's about or what it's talking about in this piece?
Well, what it's talking about in this piece is like mostly like outside. It's like nature. It reflects a lot about what's going on. How beautiful is nature, and
Yeah.
how we should like appreciate it.
Great. Yeah. And, there are words in it like raggio, and that's like a ray of the sun. So as many things as you can take and remember to kind of illuminate. One thing when we're singing that I think is a fun way to think about it is like the colors that we paint with and what colors we choose. And those colors can be in the shape of your vowels or how you're shaping a phrase. And, you can go through different things. Now, in Baroque music, there's a lot of repetition, right? You repeat phrases, you repeat. So you really need these colors to keep it exciting and keep it alive. Before we go back and get into things, tell me a little bit about how you started singing and how you came into this in the first place.
It started off as a hobby. I started singing in middle school, but I always thought like, oh no, music isn't for me. I don't like this and that, because I was forcefully joined by my mother. Just as a joke, just like, oh yeah, like singing, you sing in the shower so much, you should like just do choir, why not? And so that's how I jump started, and
Amazing.
started doing competitions. I really
Great. Well, I'm glad you did, and it's great. So the first thing I want to think about and do a little bit of the beginning with is phrasing. And I want to the Italian language gives us so much in its direction and how it feels. But also Scarlatti here has written the shape of certain lines. One thing to remember is that most of the time in Italian, the penultimate syllable or the second to last syllable is the one that's stressed. So stella, gange, raggio, all of that. But it's not, and it can be easy. I do it all the time. That you want to hold the last note out, or you want to make it feel forceful. But you always want to have a phrase that is that elegant sort of phrasing off. But if you think about that first phrase, what is the point of the phrase that has the most stress, do you think?
probably like at the around the end of the phrase it should be a lot more softer.
Well, I think the last syllable should, but so the first phrase, già il sole dal Gange, già il sole dal Gange, right? And so you're repeating già il sole, and the sole is the sun, right?
Yes.
So in a way, I want you to imagine, if you can sing that first phrase, that the sun is rising as you sing it, so that there's a shape, and as it goes higher, it kind of blossoms. But like you're saying, the very last note, Gange, should not go Gange, or anything like that. But I want to see if you can shape the phrase by just imagining the sun going from behind a hill, climbing over the hilltop.
Do you want me to use the track or just sing?
Yeah, use the track. Go for it.
Già il sole dal Gange, già il sole
All right, that was great. It was really good. The first part of it was good, but when you went to the second sole, the le of sole got stressed, right? So make sure it's sole dal gange. So you take a little bit of the kind of emphasis away from that second syllable. And see if you can find now. I think that shape is really good. Do that first thing one more time for me, and you can keep going. But when you do it, think of the playfulness of that. Già il sole dal Gange, as opposed to too metronomic. Già il sole dal Gange. Try and già il sole dal Gange, già il sole. So you have some kind of play there.
I'll try.
Già il sole dal Gange, già il sole dal Gange, più chiaro sfavilla, più chiaro sfavilla, più chiaro sfavilla.
That's great. That was really good. I really liked what you did with the first phrase there, and you did the sole really well. Now, how many times do you say chiaro? Like 4 times.
Yes.
So, what are the different ways, if you were just thinking about it, and chiaro means clear, right? Like how clear it is. So what are the different ways that you could say that? What are the different attitudes you could have behind it? And why do you say it 4 times?
Kind of like to give someone an image. So you're saying clearly, you're trying to persuade, and trying to create.
Yeah, great. So maybe the first time you say it, più chiaro, like, trying to convince them. And then as it comes back and you say chiaro again, maybe you find enjoyment in it the 3rd time. And the 4th time you say it, it has like a feeling of, it's so clear, like when you walk out on a beautiful blue sky during the day, and it's so clear. So try and even think about putting a little bit of that into the vowel. What I really like that you're doing now is you're keeping everything gathered and in a really nice place. So I don't want you to spread and go chiaro, but you could go chiaro with a little smile almost, even just like a secret inside smile. So that's a lot to think about in a way, right? First you're telling someone, then you're convincing them, then you're enjoying it, and then you're sort of smiling or sighing. So see if in the course of this whole progression, you can fill that much in.
Già il sole dal Gange, già il sole dal Gange, più chiaro sfavilla, più chiaro sfavilla, più chiaro sfavilla.
That's great. That was really good. Now I want you to try it one more time. And this is something I noticed later too that we're going to work on, but say the word chiaro for me.
Chiaro.
Great. Now slow it down. Chiaro.
Chiaro.
Yes, excellent. Now, what happens sometimes when you sing it is there's a little almost imperceptible separation between chia and ro. So it goes più chiaro. And what I want is that to really carry through. Più chiaro. So it's almost as if you were going chiao, and then you're just throwing in a tiny flip of the tongue. So just for me once, go chiao.
Chiao.
Now throw that little flip of the tongue in.
Chiaro.
Great. And now really energize the in the same way we were doing before with sole, chiaro.
Chiaro.
Yes, that. And so now when you sing it, più chiaro, sfavilla, più chiaro. Really try and connect those 2 syllables. In fact, don't even really think of them as 2 separate syllables. Just keep the voice. This is what legato means, right? To link those two things. Legare is the verb, to link it. So so I really want to feel that legato, but this is where singing gets tricky. You want to think about the legato, but you also want to think about those four different emotions and try and combine those things.
Già il sole dal Gange, già il sole dal Gange, più chiaro ciavilla, più chiaro ciavilla, più chiaro ciavilla. E tergione stilla nell'alba che piange.
So now we're going to get into what I call the double L section. And all of the energy can go into these double L's. So stilla has a double L, right?
Stilla, yes.
And then dall'alba, that's coming up next, has, unless I'm wrong, I'm just trying to find it in my book here, but it also has a double L, right?
Yes.
So it's not so much just for correctness that we want this. There's a great exciting energy. Stilla dall'alba che piange, dall'alba che piange, dall'alba, and there again you have a progression. So we say that 3 times, right? Yes. And what are the differences between the 3 times?
The differences?
Yeah, is the dynamic changing? Because whenever we repeat something like this, we have to find a way to energize it, to, if you think about Scarlatti, the composer, right? He just got one line of text, and then he's the one who chose, not only in this case to repeat the text, but he's repeating the musical figure. So it can't be just to be the same. I mean, when we get to Philip Glass or something, that's a different story. But in Scarlatti, he's thinking of some kind of progression. So what do you think it can be in this dall'alba che piange?
Well, it's still kind of keeping that same integrity of persuasion. Therefore, like dall'alba, you're continuing, you're getting louder, you're getting more expressive.
I agree. Each time it builds, and then the last one. So dall'alba che piange. Make sure you start that soft. Dall'alba che piange, dall'alba che piange. And it doesn't have to be that you get louder. You can think about it as you sing the vowels more, almost, but with the double L. So just lean into your vowels a tiny bit more there. So let's do this. You can start at the beginning or you can start in the middle, depending on what you've got, and think about those double L's and think about the progression of that line. Great. Now, the only thing that happens, and it was great because the energy was there. And I'm sorry, I was saying dal and it's dell'alba che piange, piange. The J, even though he writes it as a long note, you want to make sure it doesn't feel accented. So piange. So you take the dynamic down for the piange, and then what was the other one? Sorry, I'm just trying to find it here that I had written down. Yes. Tergogni stilla dell'alba che piange. Same thing. And there, because it's not written out, even though it's 2 quarter notes, think about it in the Italian language way. L'alba che piange. So you are giving more weight to the first one. So do the same thing you did before and just think about intensifying the double L's and building up to that phrase.
piange, dell'alba che piange, dell'alba che piange, dell'alba che piange. Già il sole dal Gange, già il sole dal Gange, più chiaro travilla, più chiaro travilla, più chiaro travilla. Would you like me to stop?
Great. Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Now let's just start the B section, and then I know we only have a couple minutes left. But in this, so let's see if I can find the B section part that I was talking about that I wrote down. Where did it go? Not Colorado, but what's the other one? Yes. E gli astri del cielo dipinge nel prato. Sorry. Yeah, no, sorry. I want to do the Colorado. And just sing it for me one more time, because there was one thing I want to remember how you did it.
Col raggio dorato, in gemma ogni stello, in gemma ogni stello, in gemma ogni stello.
Thank you. I remember what it was. It was dorato. Say that word for me.
Dorato.
That's perfect, the way you said it. Now we have to sing it that way, because it's the same thing as chiaro. I'm getting dorato, dorato. And I really, this whole song is about those legato. You should feel it's like pulling taffy or pulling a rubber band as you sing it. Dorato. So Colorado, dorato, colera, and the rato, as opposed to rato. I know it's a jump, but try and keep rato. And it just changes in a flash like that.
Okay.
Col raggio dorato, in gemma ogni stello, in gemma ogni stello, in gemma ogni stello. Gli astri del cielo dipinge nel prato.
That was much better. Just be careful, dorato. The T is soft or wet, as we say. So it's not, it sometimes gets, that's the other thing that makes it separate a little bit, is dorato, dorato. The second time you did it, it's almost like a D, but it has a little more friction than that. So dorato, dorato. It's very kind of liquid as opposed to dorato, because that's the Americanism. But it sounds beautiful. It was such a pleasure to work with you, and I wish you much continued success.
Thank you, Mr. Costanzo. I really appreciate it.
Great. So now, who do we have next? Nate.
Hi, I'm Nate Edwards, and today I'll be singing Silent Noon by Vaughan Williams. Your hands lie open in the long, fresh grass. The finger points look through like rosy blooms. Your eyes smile peace. The pasture gleams and glooms neath billowing skies that scatter and amass. All round our nest, far as the eye can pass, are golden kingcup fields with silver edge, where the cow parsley skirts the hawthorn hedge. 'Tis visible silence, still as the hourglass. Deep in the sunset growths the dragonfly hangs, like a blue thread loosened from the sky. So this winged is dropped to us from above. Oh, clasp we to our hearts for deathless star, this close companion in articulate hour, when twofold silence was the song. The song of love.
Bravo, beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful singing, yeah. And tell me, so first of all, how old are you?
I'm 18.
Awesome. And how did you get into singing?
So actually, I accidentally joined choir. I was trying to join theater class, but it was full, so they put me in choir. And I tried to quit because I didn't like it at first, and then I had to, but it was too late in the year for me to quit, so I had to stay in the whole year, and I was like, oh, I actually kind of like this. So.
Well, you're really good at it, and you've got a great voice. So I think
Thank
it's
you.
fantastic. I want to work on there's one overall thing that I want to explore together, which is that you have obviously a deep voice, you know, and that color I think is there. Like you don't have to work at it. And sometimes I feel like you're sort of making it sound more like a baritone than you need to. I mean, that's already there. That color is in your voice. So what I'm interested in finding, especially in a piece like this, is kind of a sense of wonder in the vowels. I feel like sometimes it gets very much this way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to find this way, however we can do that. So
Okay.
let's start with the first line. I'm going to ask you to sing it for me one more time, and then I'm just going to go in and try a few things.
Okay, sing the whole thing again?
Just the first line.
Oh, okay, okay. Your hands lie open in the long, fresh grass. The finger points look through like rosy blooms.
That's already better. I already see you thinking about it,
Yeah.
and I think this is going to be really great. Here's some things to try. Tell me what you think about when you breathe in, usually.
I usually think about the vowel, or I try to think about the vowel, but a lot of times I forget.
Okay, that's good. No, that's really a smart thing to do. Breathing into the vowel is always great. For this exercise that I want to do, can you for a second imagine that you're smelling roses? So that lifts your soft palate a little bit, but it's, if I said, think of the beginning of a yawn, that lifts your soft palate more, you know? So, and when you do that, think about your cheekbones. Just put your fingers on your cheekbones for a second. Yeah. Now smell roses. Okay. Now just say the first line for me.
Your hands lie open in the long, fresh grass.
Yeah. And so we're thinking about this. And I want to see if that works. And also, when you get to the second line, no, sorry, first line, in the long, what's your vowel on the, which is such a hard word?
I tried to do the, like an aw vowel, but sometimes it's
So I
tough.
think I want to try like almost like French. So instead of
Okay.
in the long, in the long, it's not like you're saying the, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you can think the you can think the French part and actually say but I want it just a little more narrow, essentially. The instead of the, you know,
Okay.
try
Okay.
that, and then keep thinking about the roses and the cheekbones.
Okay. Did you want me to do the first
Same
line again?
thing, same thing, yeah.
Okay. Your hands lie open in the long, fresh grass. The finger points look through like rosy blooms.
I love the way that sounds. How does it feel to you?
It feels good. It feels comfortable.
It feels like you're talking to us, which is what I like, but it keeps the beauty of your voice there. One thing I noticed, which is a funny little thing, is there are some voiced consonants that aren't voiced. So the, sometimes you say the.
Oh.
Rosie, you sometimes say Rosie.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's all good. And later, whenever you have a V at the end, like love, or there's another one, I can't find it right now, but make sure that even if it's a long note, love, give that a little bit of voice.
Yes,
So
sir.
let's now go on from there. And sorry, I just wanted to say one other thing. Okay, so tell me about Rosie. That's the only other thing I wanted to think about. It's not that high, but I feel like you're already going to almost cover. I don't know if you've talked about covering or anything like that.
Yes.
And my instinct is that you don't even need to do that now. What I would say instead, since we're on this facial thing, is think about right here, your third eye. And that's to say, make it headier.
Okay.
Because you're not, I mean, if you were singing a big Verdi villain or something, I would say go for it, you know, but Rosie, as opposed to like, I don't think we need that there. I want to see what happens if you make it more elegant.
Okay.
So we'll do that and go on a little bit.
Okay. Your hands lie open in the long, fresh grass. Your finger points look through like rosy blooms. Your eyes smile peace. The pasture gleams and glooms neath billowing skies that scatter and amass. our nest far as the eye can pass. Oh.
Beautiful. I really like it, and I like the direction. So that was great what you did to keep it heady at the beginning. What I want to start from, if we can, or somewhere around there, is the pasture gleam
Okay.
and gleams meet the billowing skies. And when you get to billowing, and then even more on scatter and amass, I want you to think of drinking your sound in and crescendoing. So instead of the crescendo going this way, I want you to think of it's almost like it's circling inside you. So you're going, Mars, that you're kind of using that to circle in, so it doesn't ever get out of control. But I think you can give us a little more there, and let it be gradual. Also, don't hit it or anything, but let it be
Okay.
gradual.
Yes, sir.
And so let's start with that, and then we'll do the triplety part.
The pasture gleams and glooms neath billowing skies that scatter and amass.
Amass was really good. And I like that you're sort of modifying the vowel a little bit to make it easier. But can you do me a favor? Sing the exact way you're singing, but think a little bit more like A
Okay.
together. Just
Okay.
think it. Sometimes this is something I've learned. Just thinking it will make it happen a little bit differently.
Okay.
But the crescendo was great.
Okay. Thank you. The pasture gleams and glooms neath billowing skies that scatter and amass.
I know it feels a little like shaky, but you just work to find a balance there, because I don't want you to overcorrect. So you go, "Mar." I want to keep a little bit of honesty in it, and there it was maybe just a hair for you. Not you didn't quite figure out how to get the without it disrupting things, because you're used to seeing it the other way. But I think you know where to go with that to sort of strike a balance.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
in this next part, all round our nest, far as the eye can see, he marks this piano, and I want this to have a feeling of, instead of all round the nest as far, all round the nest as far as we can see. This, like you've gathered everyone around and you're going to tell them something quietly and describe something, like very intimate. So I don't want you to put any air in the sound, but I think, again, keeping this, that feeling, and this kind of talk to us with it. See what happens.
Yes, sir. All round our nest, far as the eye can pass, are golden kingcup fields with silver edge.
Without the accompaniment, if you oh, is that the note? What if you, because right now I'm getting all round the nest. I feel there's almost too much. I feel what's happening a tiny bit is that you're singing into the space that you've created. Keep it open, breathe into it, but keep the vowels, the words, and the sound at the front of your mouth. Just do it without the accompaniment for when you.
All round our nest, far as the eye can pass.
Great. Do it just, even if it's fake looking, do it smiling once for me.
Okay. All round our nest, far as the eye can pass.
How does that feel different?
It feels better, honestly. It feels more comfortable.
Good. I think what's happening a tiny bit is just this uh, over singing in a way, because you don't need to. You've got the voice there. Now, the only thing I hear on the other hand is I don't want you to come off of your body or your breath or something. You can still give it what you need to give it, but keep that. It's almost like the feeling of a smile, or the roses, or another thing is, you know what your hard palate is? That's the
Hmm.
thing at the top of your mouth. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Imagine that I took like my pencil and I was holding that in my mouth so that the space isn't all back here. All round our nest, all hard palate, smile, whatever works better for you. But now go forward, just do a little more with that feeling, and that smile worked really well.
Okay. You want me to do it with the track?
Yeah.
Okay. All round our nest, far as the eye can pass, are golden kingcup fields with silver edge, where the cow parsley skirts the haw.
Great, already much better. And now we're going to do one other thing, which is, I think, going to help. You know, in the RP that you're doing, the British kind of thing, all round honest. You don't need the R there at all.
Okay.
All round honest, far as the eye can see. And then, sorry, what's the next one? Yeah, golden, golden. So not golden.
Okay.
Golden. King cup fields with silvery edge. So just take out those things and think of just one. Let me see how I can do this. Okay, try something really crazy. Think of the vowel E, even though you barely sing any E. So instead of all round on, now just that's all you have to think about is all round our nest. Just that bright vowel E is in your mind, and then you're doing the rest. And then
Okay. Oh, shoot. There's a weird part. All round our nest, far as the eye can pass, are golden kingcup fields with silver edge, where the cow parsley skirts the hawthorn hedge.
That was great. That really made a difference to me. How did it feel to you?
It felt good.
Yeah, I think that's the ticket, is do whatever you need to keep it more almost like you're speaking to us, and trust that the voice will be there, and do everything, you know, that you've been doing with space and breath and all that I can hear, but just make sure not to go too far in that direction.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Sam Dill, and I will be singing I Attempt from Love Sickness to Fly by Henry Purcell. I attempt from love sickness to fly in Since I am myself my own fever, since I am myself my own fever and pain, no more now, fond heart with pride, no more swell. Thou canst not raise voices, thou canst not raise forces enough to rebel. I attempt from love sickness to fly in vain, since I am myself my own fever, since I am myself my own fever and pain. For love has more power and less mercy than fate, to make us seek ruin, to make us seek ruin, and love those that hate. I attempt from love sickness to fly in vain, since I am myself my own fever, since I am myself my own fever and pain.
Great, beautiful,
Thank
so
you.
nice. So tell me, how old are you?
I'm 18.
Okay, and how did you become a countertenor or start singing this way?
Yeah, so pretty much, well, I started off in the children's chorus really young in the opera here in Houston. And then when my voice changed, obviously I couldn't do that anymore. And singing kind of got benched a little bit. But then as I got a little older and started going into high school, I picked it back up again as a baritone. But I was still kind of experimenting like with head voice just on the side. And then really last year, just about a year ago, um, I had the wonderful opportunity of John Holliday came to our school and did a masterclass, and I worked with him as a baritone, and we were also experimenting and kind of just wound up going higher and higher on the piece I was working on um, until I was in falsetto.
And so you what's the do you go very high? Do you stay low? Where do you stay? Where do you usually live?
Yeah, so I definitely think my range is on the lower end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you like to keep I noticed that you kept everything in head voice basically in this piece, all the way down to, I don't know, what was it, like a G
G
sharp?
sharp, I think.
Yeah. So tell me your thinking about that. Do you not like to switch back and forth? How do you approach that?
Yeah, so I definitely am not opposed to it. I think um, maybe if it were even a half step lower, I would have, because that's for sure kind of where it's getting to be the bottom of my falsetto. So yeah, if it were like maybe even just a half step lower, I probably would. Um,
Great. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's try a few things because it's fun and it sounds really great. I really like the melismas as well, the way you were doing that. Um, the first question I have is fever. And now this is a very particular perspective I have, obviously, as a countertenor. But I think that, as your voice gets older, you should keep all options open because sometimes it develops somebody like Bejan Mehta. I don't know if you've ever listened to him. Check him out. His name is Bejan, Bejun Mehta, Mehta, and he has this really rich, amazing low head voice that is so full down to an A. But I think back to hearing this piece when I was in the Indian Queen, which is what it's from, at English National Opera, and the Colosseum is such a big place that even with a light orchestration, you want to understand what you need to fill in. And I don't particularly, unless you have a voice like Bayesian's, I don't love the countertenors who are really strict about staying in head voice. So what I want to try is, but it's tricky to switch back and forth. Since I am myself my own fever, like what if we just put ver of fever in a light mix?
okay.
What would happen?
Sure.
Let's try it. So And the other thing I want you to think about while you do this is the only thing you have to think about is whenever you're jumping or even working in scalar motion, use your finger, if you can, to go in the opposite direction. So it's like, I attempt from love's, so you don't have to be perfect about it, but just I attempt from, you're moving in the opposite direction. Because I want to avoid I attempt from, you know what I mean? So try that and see what happens if you just put the ver of fever in your mix.
All right.
I attempt from love sickness to fly in vain, since I am myself my own fever, since I am myself my own fever and pain.
Great. What at the very beginning you really did that opposite direction thing. You did I attempt, and it kept it. Did you feel how it kept it really resonant?
Yeah.
Great. Fly in vain. Same
Okay.
thing. And if you want to put the little appoggiatura in, great. In vain. It could be nice too. And then I want you now, so tell me about mixing that fever chest thing.
Yeah, so I'm actually still really experimenting with the concept of mix. Um, not too sure where it is exactly quite yet.
Okay.
So I kind of, yeah, I kind of just
try
put it down.
without the accompaniment. Try singing "Since I am myself," just all in head voice. That line once for me.
All right. Can I just play it for a second to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
the key back? Okay.
Sure.
Since I am myself my own fever.
Now, did you just mix the ver, or did you just put it in your chest?
As far as I know, that was just my chest.
I like that. I really like
Okay.
that. Now do it with self as well.
All right. Wait, put self in chest voice?
Try it, just for me.
Since I am myself my own fever.
Now, do it all in head voice.
Since I am myself my own fever.
Now do it with the two notes in chest.
Since I am myself my own fever.
What is the difference for you?
It for sure feels lighter on those notes, absolutely. And like simultaneously easier and more difficult, like, because it's more difficult because it's like switching between like, I guess like placements, but at the same time then easier because, like a is kind of hard in falsetto.
This is my thing. I think you don't have to do anything because you can do everything, right? You can do both things. But I think it's a fun thing to have as on your tool belt. It took me forever to figure out what you just did so easily. So if I had been practicing it since I was 18, I would have gotten much more comfortable. Now that I've been doing it for 10 years consistently, it becomes almost second nature, and it's I remember making my debut at the Met. Sorry, I don't mean to hijack with a story for a second, but it was Rodelinda by Handel, and it was I had to make my entrance with Renee Fleming and Andreas Scholl and Stephanie Blythe and all these people, and the first thing I sang started on a D above middle C, and it went down to an A. It went "Son colpi della sorte," and I was determined in my little countertenor mind to do it in head voice, to get it to be as countertenor should be in head voice. And every time I practiced it, it would be inconsistent. You know, it would sometimes be loud and full, and sometimes it would sound wimpy and light, and sometimes it would kind of not crack, but, you know, fall in the crack. And eventually I just gave up and I thought, okay, don't be a martyr. And I put it all in chest, even from a D. And it just made me let go of the whole thing. Now, if I have a melisma, like there's one melisma where you go down
Mm.
uh lower.
G sharp.
Yeah. And you know, as long as you keep that up, I wouldn't mix that, because I think mixing in a melisma is a recipe for disaster and you have enough tone. But for me, the trick is fever, self. You have enough space. And in the case of self, you have an unvoiced consonant, which makes it easy. So,
Yeah.
so let's do it with the mix, and let's do that first line going up this way, like you did. After the melisma too. In vain, going up, and then try self and ver, and then go on.
All right.
I attempt from love sickness to fly in vain, since I am myself my own fever, since I am myself my own fever and pain. No more now, no more now, fond heart with pride, no more swell. Thou canst not raise forces, thou canst not raise forces enough to rebel. I attempt from love.
So that was fun. You tried rebel also.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
And it's the same thing, even if you're going into chest, enough to rebel. So it's not enough to rebel. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and when I say mix, you can sing in a heady chest. I don't really know as a countertenor how to sing in a chesty head. I don't think we sort of have that same mechanism like a mezzo does quite. But I do think you know from your baritone days what a heady chest feels like. And that's basically the mix. I mean, you know, instead of not enough to rebel, rebel, you know, rebel.
Yeah.
Heady really can be aided by this feeling of, like, if you have an hourglass sitting on your forehead, the narrow part is the headiness. So
Okay.
so that's a way to do it. I want to do one more time. I don't know if you can either start at the beginning or in the middle, but thou canst not raise forces. Thou canst not raise forces. Again, think of that as going up instead of right now you're kind of going down with it. Keep your voice almost in the same place. What can help you with this is put your hand, thou canst not raise forces, thou canst not raise forces, so that you don't feel you're shifting gears. Let it feel like it's the same thing all the way. And sing legato. That's the other thing I would say. Link those vowels through as much as you can. So try that part one more time. And if you do the rebel in chest, try that heady chest. Sorry, it's a lot to think about, but it's great.
From is it all right if I go from the no more now?
Yeah.
Okay.
No more now, fond heart with pride, no more swell. Thou canst not raise forces, thou canst not raise forces enough to rebel.
Sorry.
No, but that was really good. And I think when you were singing the vowels longer, which was great, and you were also keeping it in the same spot, so you weren't going down, which never helps. How did that feel?
Oh, for sure. It was a lot like didn't feel actually lower. Like it for sure felt a lot lighter. Like the first like repetition of it was.
Great. Yeah, sounds really good. So, what would you say is the hardest part for you in this piece?
Well, think I think it has to be probably like the emotion, just in terms of like, because it's this very like light kind of like accompanied, very light major. But I feel like the words are kind of like internal anguish almost, because it's like I'm myself my own fever and pain. So like I think the like melody and the words are very kind of contradictory
Have
a
you
little
ever
bit.
done it at a different tempo?
No, not really.
I think you should try that. Let's do it a cappella once. When I did it in London, Julia Bullock, who's a wonderful soprano, sang it, and she sang, "I attempt from love sickness to fly in vain." It doesn't have to be that slow, but pick a tempo that you like, that you can. I attempt from love sickness to fly. So maybe instead of thinking of it in 1, 2, 3, 1, that you're thinking of it in one. I attempt from love sickness to fly. And what that will do is sort of fixate the downbeats a little bit, and yeah, and just take the edge off it. So do it a cappella once, just a little bit slower.
Yeah.
I attempt from love sickness to fly in vain, since I am myself my own fever, since I am myself my own fever and pain.
How does that feel?
Definitely like I'm not like gasping for breath in between.
Yeah, it's a different thing. I mean, Purcell certainly didn't write this quarter note equals 120 in the score.
Yeah.
You can go on IMSLP and look at probably his manuscript, or go to your library. The librarians love this kind of thing, and look at a microfilm, or get them to send you the facsimile of the manuscript. All that stuff is really fun. But probably, I would guess, it's a bunch of scribbles. And so, it can be whatever tempo it needs to. Now, if you were singing a contemporary piece and it was marked different, there are ways we could approach it to get the kind of pathos that you want. But since it's Purcell, and since the Baroque is all about tailor made for a singer, I would try, I attempt from love sickness to fly. But the other thing about it, I would say, is there is a kind of, it's not only about love sickness, it's about flying away from that. So the last thing I want to try is just do it one more time, and you can forget about all the technical stuff for now. And instead of making it about the sadness, we're all in this really awful place in the world right now, but all we want is this escape, right? And the escape is the joy of it. So if since we have it at this tempo, let's see if we can find that. So instead of I attempt from love sickness to fly in vain, little determination and a little kind of wonder, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, at the slower tempo or at the
Try
trap
it at the fast tempo now to sort of make that work.
Right, right.
I attempt from love sickness to fly in vain, since I am myself my own fever, since I am myself my own fever and pain.
That's good. That was actually really nice. Since I just want to try one other thing. Since I am myself. Really, I sometimes feel you're going self my. Do you need a
Yeah.
breath there?
Sorry?
Do you need a breath there?
No,
No,
I
I
think
think
I psyched myself out on the whole chest voice thing and kind of forgot, and then I was like, oh wait, I was.
Yeah, do it one more time and really sing Since I Am Myself, My Own Fever. And you're
Yeah.
making that switch easily, so don't worry about it.
All right.
I attempt from love sickness to fly in vain, since I am myself my own fever, since I am myself my own fever and pain.
Yeah.
Oh, great. How did it feel?
Oh, that was a lot better. And then I realized I did it again on the second one.
No, but that's great. And I feel like when you have this thing, it also frees the voice. So experiment with the tempi and see what how you want to present the piece. That's one of the fun things about Baroque music is you can make those choices.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Great. So now I think we're going to have some questions. Thank you so much, everyone. Beautiful singing.
Yes, what an awesome class. Anthony, thank you so much. This was absolutely fascinating to watch two countertenors speak to each other, especially one coming into the field and one who really has been leading it. So I'd like to bring all of our students back into our Zoom. Turn your cameras on, please. As they're doing that, I'm just going to ask our administrator behind the scenes if we have any questions from our folks watching online. And while we are checking that out, I would just like to remind everyone, Houston area sophomores and juniors, we are accepting applications for this program for next season. This is all tuition free for our students through the gracious support of the Bauer Family Foundation. So please check us out. Teachers out there, send your students our way to audition. Applications need to be in by March. Now I forget, 17th, 27th. There we go. It looks like we're still waiting for a couple of questions to come in from online. So I'm going to open it up to our class. Maybe we'll give the fellows who just sang a little bit of a breather. And anyone from the rest of our studio, please go ahead, unmute yourself and ask a question.
You asked everybody how they got into music, but I was just wondering about you.
Well, thank you. I was 8 years old, I think, and I had been taking piano lessons, and my piano teacher said, you want to try singing? And I loved it. And the first thing I sang was Gershwin. And so I went and auditioned for shows in North Carolina where I was growing up. And I did a bunch of local theater, and that got me going eventually to Broadway when I was 11, and then I got into opera when I was 13 when I was asked to do Miles in The Turn of the Screw. So that's how I started doing that. And then I became a countertenor because when I was doing that first opera, somebody said, you know, your head voice, I can't tell if you're in head voice or chest voice, but maybe your voice has changed. And I went straight into singing countertenor when I was 13 because that's what someone said I could do, and I just tried to do it. So yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Thanks.
I have one question.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, what is something that you wish someone had told you at your age?
Let me think. I mean, what do I wish that someone had told me when I was your age? I think that you know there's a kind of institution of opera. You know, you see it there in Houston with Houston Grand Opera, and what we all aspire to, whether it's to go to the conservatory we want or to go sing at the Met or whatever it is that we have to get to this point of kind of vocal perfection in order to do it. That's what I remember feeling when I was young, that, you know, we've got to find the way. And that is really, really important. But it's about 50% of the game. And the rest of the game, if you think about the singers that you love and the artists that you love, most of them are really interesting people, and they've carved a really interesting path for themselves. And they've been creative in the way they've approached this music. You know, opera is such an interdisciplinary thing that involves poetry and drama and literature and all of this. The more that you think about those things and let them work hand in hand with all that you're doing with the singing, the more compelling you're going to be as an artist. I now work with young singers who are so fixated on just vocal things that I can't imagine how they would, be on a stage. And so if you use imagination to shape both your singing and your approach to singing, I think you'll, first of all, have a more fulfilling time, but also be more ready to be a 21st century opera singer.
Thank you. That was a really great answer.
It looks like we did get some questions from online. I'm not sure who asked it, but thank you for joining us out there. The question is, what is your favorite warm-up to sing coloratura?
Coloratura requires daily warming up, but I would say one thing that's good to do just to make it light is a little onset exercise where you would go like e e e something like that. And then as you get more advanced, you can do those things you always hear sopranos doing that are like ah. But yeah, I would start with that little and by repeating the note like that, you're keeping it light, you're keeping the onset right, and all of that.
And more questions from our studio members.
Yeah, Samantha.
So what's one activity that you've done that's kind of like outside of singing, but actually weirdly helped you with your singing, like either with acting or just with vocal technique or anything like that?
Oh, so many. When I did my undergrad at Princeton, so I got really into all these different courses I was taking. But I remember that I had been working with a choreographer, and I went and did dance with her, or I took dance classes, or I was working with an artist, and then I started going to museums, and I started thinking about the way a painter was approaching the canvas with oil. And I started thinking, gosh, how is that similar in the shading of, creating an eye or creating something that looks three-dimensional with oil? How am I using my voice to do that? What are the techniques that they used, and how does that achieve the effect they want? So you can find it in almost anything and everything. But I think if you're doing an aria from an opera, or you're doing a song that's based on a poem, what is that Vaughan Williams poem from? And, what is the poetry? What are the other things that poet has written? And going down that road and reading them, it immerses you in a whole world, which can really spark your imagination. So you can use anything as a jumping off point. When I did Akhenaten at the Met, I started reading all about this historical figure, Akhenaten, and ancient Egypt, and the Book of the Dead, and all of these things. And then when we got into the rehearsal room with the director, he had done a different kind of research. So it was actually very important. And I worked to sort of shape the trajectory of the narrative with this director because of what I had researched. And that wound up changing the nature of the show entirely. And then it went on to be a really successful show. So, you can never, it's not, I was working with a great director in that case. It's not that you have to do the work of everyone, but you have to bring something to everything that you do that's not just a good voice.
Thank you.
We are rounding out our time, so we're going to do one last question. Sam, I saw your hand shoot right up, so we're going to have you do our final question before we say goodbye to everyone.
Thank you. I was just wondering, do you have any advice for separating emotion from like physicality, in terms of like if you're like singing something angry, not letting it destructively interfere vocally, but while still conveying that emotion?
That's a good question. And it can be really hard because you can want to get your shoulders into it or all of that stuff. So I think that you know what you need to line up in terms of your breastbone and your carriage and how your lungs work and all of that. And even if I'm lying down or I'm bending over, or if I'm changing the angle of my head, obviously this is not a good angle to sing at, and this is not, so as long as you can keep that together, for me, especially for what you guys are going to be doing for a long time, which is, not necessarily being in a show, but auditioning with an aria, making a tape. A lot of that can happen in your mind. It doesn't need to be embodied always in the physicality. I remember the aria that I won the Met Opera auditions with was an aria where he died at the end, and in the middle of it, actually. And there was a play out. And I was thinking, well, what am I going to do? I'm not going to sort of stand there and go like, that or anything. And I'm not going to fall on the ground. And I remember reaching out, like you would see someone do. And then when I sort of stopped mid-phrase to die, I went like this. And that was it. And sometimes that can tell a story. So what is the gesture that won't interfere with your whole body, that tells that story, that doesn't overstate it? And sometimes if you see the scene play out before you in your eyes, we get the drama as well. Specificity, even on the stage of the Met, which is a huge place, I try not to overact, but rather if someone says something that makes me mad, it can be as simple as that, and a sharp turn of the head and the specificity of that communicates a lot, even in a big house. So people always ask, when you do an HD broadcast, do you act differently for the camera? No, I want to balance the two things the whole time, because I don't think, even when people act very grand and you're sitting at the back of the Cullen Theater, what's the big one called? Is it the
Brown Theater?
The Brown Theater, yeah. When you're sitting at the back of the Brown Theater, that specificity will read. So find the small ways to do that.
Thank you so much.
Such fantastic advice and guidance that you gave today. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us. I would like all of us to say goodbye to our online audience before we wrap up in a closed little moment here. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next month with our masterclass with the HGO Studio. Until next time, thanks. Awesome. It looks like that was a wrap, you guys. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Beautiful singing to all the singers, and thank you for all your questions. And I'm wishing you guys a lot of luck and fortitude. This time will pass, and you'll be in an exciting renaissance. I always say I would want to either be an established singer right now who can sort of scrape through this moment, or a student just beginning, because it's going to be the roaring 20s as soon as it's over, and there's going to be an explosion of culture. So you're in a good position.
Yeah, it's a strangely exciting time. Thank you so much. Would it be okay if we have some extra questions from our students, if we can send them your way via email after the class?
Sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. I would love everyone to unmute and send your thanks out with a huge thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, well, we'll be in touch. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks.
All right, thanks everyone. See you later.